Hey, what's up, guys? It's Connery from OOW Outdoors, and I know it's been a while since we put up a video because we've been still trying to learn new things. And once we do, we'll give you guys reviews and things on how to do it, and kind of how we fumbled along the way. So you probably won't have to do the same thing. But today, I've been looking at our comments recently, and a lot of people want to know how to catch stripers at night. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I'll show you the most productive way for us. Now, we're talking about inland stripers, we're not talking about ocean-bound stripers, although the trick does work on ocean-bound stripers as well. But for most of my experience, stripers, if you're fishing during the daytime, if they're not blitzing, then that just means they're not really active. You're not really going to catch them. They have really good eyesight, so they can really, I think in my opinion, they can tell the difference between a reel. I mean, assuming you're not using live bait, if you're using a lure, then you can probably tell it's a lure, and they're not going to really hit it, unless if they're just blitz and there's just thousands of them or something like that. But if you get maybe a small group or just isolated loners or something like that, they're not going to bite very well. Like I said, most of my experience has been dawn. Oh, the night hours, mainly the night hours. And let's see, some of the lures I like to use, the gear I like to use, depending on the fishing. Here in Oklahoma, we do a lot of striper fishing at night, but with like little stripers, we're talking stripers that usually are less than 28 inches. Okay, so you're definitely under 10 pounds, but if you're under 28 inches. Some of the lures I like to use are some of these. If you guys can see them, but that's kind of the lures that I use personally, and some of the ones that are up for review just haven't, sat down and done them, but those are definitely some of them. I don't know if you guys see them. Actually, let me see. Get a better angle on them. Maybe we should just pull them out of the box. Got the duals, and these are all in the 110 size Megabass. This is a Megabass Ito, the 110, the suspending model, but we've tuned it so it slowly rises. You got the Excalibur jerkbaits, and it's mainly just jerkbaits for stripers at night. That's what we've been always successful with, and we stick to them. That's actually a really nice one. Good review for that coming up. And once again, the STX Megabass Copycat. Also a really good lure. That's one box. The other box. This is again the jerkbaits again. But some days, when you run it, see in our state, we can have 5 stripers. Doesn't matter what size they are. Okay, so a lot of times we have small reservoirs or small rivers. They don't always hold the big fish though. Sometimes you have to go out with a smaller fish. And this is the other box that we go out. And this is strictly for night fishing. If we're fishing in the daytime, usually we go with a different setup. But you got your... It's always a proven lure right there. Rapala X-Wrap. This is something... These are the 2 new ones I haven't caught anything on yet, because I haven't really thrown them much. This is KVD, I think it's called a slash bait. This is a proven one. You've already reviewed that one. These are crystal minnows. Lucky Craft, what do you call these again? This is suspending minnow. It's a pointer, that's what it is. Lucky Craft pointers. Surprisingly, I haven't caught much fish on these pointers. Maybe it's just the way, it's not like it's not a good quality lure, but it's just... Maybe it's my style of fishing. It doesn't really match it very well. It tends to roll more than jerk in all different sizes. And once again, another crystal minnow, but in a smaller size. And here's the other one that a lot of people don't throw, that I seem to really like. It just suspends really well. It's more of a very medium action. This is the Smith Rogue Perfect 10. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that when we talk about striper fishing. A couple husky jerks and a couple other smaller. We get small stripers, and sometimes you just can't find them. You just got to use these little X-Wraps. So that's a jerkbait box for the say medium-sized stripers. I mean, we have another one where if we know there's big stripers in the area, this is some of the stuff we'll throw over here. I'll just bring it in for a second. If I know there's big stripers in the area, we throw these Bomber Magnum Long A's. Of course, these are upgraded hooks. And you remove the front hook so it doesn't snag up on you, especially if you're really, really shallow. And here's the other one I'm messing with right now, and it is the X-Wrap. But it's like a jumbo size X-Wrap. I haven't caught any fish on this. I got a hit on it, but it didn't hook up. I'm about to change the hooks out. Something like that. The other thing is, just to help people out, is if you're fishing at night, there's something that I found out that's been working really, really, really good for me, is square bill crankbaits at night. They work very well, especially stripers. It seems like they get more aggressive at night. So one of the most common ones you can pick up is just the where did it go? There it is. That's not it. Oh, here it is. Not a lot of people tell you this stuff, but if you're trying to catch stripers for food, which a lot of people, most of our viewers are, yeah, there you go. The Ken Van Dam 1.5. If you're trying to catch a striper that's less than 20 inches long, so I know a lot of states the regulation is 18 inches. I know one of our lakes has a minimum of 20, and you'll catch them all day with that. Especially in a lake that has a lot of shad that has a size of, you know, like that, 2.5 inches. It's killer. This thing is pretty good at night. You can find this everywhere. Walmart carries them. If you go to a store that does not carry that, then that store is probably going to go out of business because they don't know what they're doing. But it's not very, the lure is not super durable, but it does work. I've got a review coming out on that. But this is probably by far my one of my top 2 favorite lures right now for stripers. It's just kind of, it's the Sproul Little John in this color and in the Cellmate color, which is basically just white with a speckled top. That's really hot, and this one's actually really hot too. I really like this one, but this one's discontinued. It is basically the same thing as a Strike King 1.5, but this is from Daiwa, the Daiwa TD Minnow, and it works really, really well. It's a little more durable than the Strike King, but like I said, it's kind of discontinued, so you can't really find it. The only place I've found these is on eBay. Once again, that's a hot color for me. That one. And that one, the blue top, hot colors for me. For stripers at night, you know, that's what I do. When I say stripers at night, I'm cranking around rocks, areas where you know the stripers should hide out on. Stripers, in my opinion, don't really hang out on seaweed and stuff like that too much. Look for rocks, shallow flats. That's gonna be your key. And as for rod and reel, for these stripers, I've been throwing them on majority of it has been, see here, this is from last trips. Been throwing it on 12-pound tests. You don't need anything bigger than that. Anything bigger, I think you're just ruining the excitement of the fight, because you don't get that thrill of your line might break or not. Anyways, Livingston jerkbait looks really good, sounds really cool. Haven't caught anything on it, so I don't know, maybe it's not striper tuned or something. But so far, this is a really good setup for me to throw out jerkbaits and throw up just crankbaits, and it's got a lot of backbone behind it to, not a lot, just enough backbone, but to get, you know, the blood boiling. It's on the Falcon Buku series. This is on the micro guides as well, and we'll be reviewing this rod anytime now. And once again, it's on the Daiwa Tatula Type R, and got an update on that reel as well. So not a good update, but an update. And that's the outfit I throw it on. You know, so if you really wanted to know the whole thing, There it is. You could do this on the spinning reel as well. And at night, it seems like you don't have to cast as far because they're really close to shore. But if you do want to cover a lot of ground, I actually throw it on this. This is my new rod that my sister bought me for my birthday in July when I went to J4. For Asian home people, they know what J4 is, but for everybody else, just ignore it. But this is what this is my like go-to setup. If anybody calls me and they want to go fishing, and I don't know where you're doing or what you're doing, this is what I pick up. This is my St. Croix. It's the premier model. It's the entry or the lowest model they have. But this is a 7-foot medium heavy. And it can do anything from 6 to 12 pound, quarter ounce to 5/8. And I also have it paired with the Stratic CI4 3000 model on there. And to me, this is probably the for if you don't like bait casters, this is probably the best setup you can go with. And very comfortable. I'm very comfortable with this setup. Yeah, we got a lot of junk on the walls. Okay, so anyways, for crankbait fishing, for guys that don't do it, you're missing out, or it's either you've tried it and it didn't work out for you. You've thrown it for maybe 30 minutes and it's just never caught anything. That's kind of what my opinion was on crankbaits until I started to figuring out how to use it, where to throw it, and things like that. So basically, crankbaits, you always want them to be hitting the ground every second or so, or even all the time, full contact with the ground. If you're not going to make full contact with the ground, the odds are you're not going to get a bite. That's completely opposite with the jerkbaits. Jerkbaits, which are the longer ones, for the guys that don't know, you always want them to be in a 5-foot scenario, because a lot of times where I fish around 5 foot of water on a boat, you want to keep them at least a foot off the ground, or maybe a foot off the water. It depends on that day, and you can vary your retrieves. The crankbait is really simple for retrieves. You cast it out. It's at night, so you can't see exactly where you're casting to. So you just kind of pick an area that you think might hold fish, or maybe you just caught a fish from that angle. So you throw back out, crank it down to hit something, and you just stop. Or you crank it, and then you hit something, you stop, or you just slow it down half a turn and go again. Slow it down half a turn and go again. It's really that simple. And then when it hits, it's not really, usually it's not like a big thump. It's more like a say you've snagged up on some big seaweed or something, and it just goes like, you can usually feel the vibration of the crankbait, and then it's just nothing, and then it feels like someone's tugging on it, and you just swing, and that's a crankbait bite. On the jerkbait bites, it's a little different. Jerkbaits, you throw it out, you have a lot of retrieves. Either you can just power roll it in and make sure, like I said, don't hit the ground with it, because usually a jerkbait will it'll snag up, and crankbait won't. The crankbait, so they have a different lip on them, and the different lip design, so it'll help them go over rocks instead of like trying to go through a rock. So anyways, crankbaits, jerkbaits, throw it out, you just reel it in real fast. That's like the very first retrieve I usually do. When we get hit second round, real slow, just mean slow rolling it to the point where you can almost barely feel, the vibration of the lure. And the third one is you cast it out, crank it 3 times, 3 turns of the reel, real fast, and just pause it. And then crank it again, pause it. Like every crank, pause it, 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 pause it. That's another retrieve. Another retrieve is cast it out, crank, 3 cranks, and then just snap it 1 time and pause it. A lot of times, if they're really active, that's the technique you want. Where you cast out, crank 3 times, whip it, and then just pause, and you can hear it just. You can't really even hear it. You can feel it on your line. Well, at that time, you once you snap it, crank it up until you pick up the slack, and then you just hear it like pull your line, and that's when you just set. And a lot of times, like I said, that's my preferred way of fishing. I like the aggressive fish. And the other couple ways of doing it is just flip it out. And this is I got this from like watching some of the Kevin Van Dam videos. You'll flip it out, crank it down like 5 turns, and you just kill it. Don't even twitch it. And then and on a slack line, whip it 2-3 times, and don't even turn the handle. Just keep whipping it, and then whip it, and then just boom, crank again. Like 2 turns of the handle and go again. 2 turns, go again. And this is constantly, like you're just doing this constantly, and you're not pausing. You're not doing a 1 minute pause and 1 second pause or anything. You're just constantly doing this. And I've caught a lot of fish doing that too, but it gets really tiring. That's the thing. You got to be pretty fit to do that for a long period of time. So usually it's always my average cast is just to cast out, crank it down, snap it, roll up the slack, wait for it. Nothing? Okay. Snap, snap, crank it again. Nothing? Snap, snap, crank it again. Snap, snap, crank it again. Hold it, snap, snap. That's what I usually do. I know Hybrid likes the real snap. Real snap, snap. Like that's kind of his go-to technique, and it's worked. It's worked a lot. So for those guys that are jerkbaiting, those are the techniques you can do, and it's not always the same thing. You do it, change it up. Like I've caught so many fish where you've gone through those 4, and then all of a sudden there's just no action, right? And then what you do is you change it up. Like you'll throw it out there, and just let it sit. It's like most of the suspending jerkbaits, they'll suspend at about, for what, if it's tuned, okay? We tune ours to right about 3 feet below the surface. So you crank it out, you fire it out, let it sit. As soon as it hits the water, it goes about 1 foot into the water, and then you crank it 2 times, it's down to about 3, and then you just wait. 1, 2, and then you just slow roll it back. Super slow roll it back. And as you're changing the retrieves, it messes with the fish, I think, and the fish they'll hit. So, but we don't try to stay in a certain area for a long time. You're always trying to move around. You could stay in a certain area, you'll catch those fish eventually, but you're not gonna catch the fish that don't want to bite anyway. So, we're always trying to catch the aggressive fishes and things like that. If they're really aggressive, then just stay there until they calm down. Then you gotta move. Moving is a good thing. That's something we've learned this year too. Is if you're really chasing just aggressive fish, you want to have fun, always be on the move. Do not stay in one spot unless if it's really, really biting. Because we're not dragging worms or we're not throwing live bait, so we're not sticking around. We're on the move, always on the move. So I hope that helps some of our viewers out. And like I said, this is the what to do for the smallest stripers. For the bigger stripers, we got a totally different system, different rods and reels and different line and everything too. Like I said, I'm running on 10 and 12 pounds, so it keeps things interesting because it's not like you're gonna just catch them and power reel them in. You want to give them a chance to fight around because that's the whole point of the fishing, anyways. Is to fight. So if you're not gonna give them a chance to fight, then don't even know why you're fishing. Really. All right, guys, check it out next time.